Closer than you ever can imagine us. Closer, yeah.
Okay,
Got that song stuck in my head now.
Voice now.
Well, the other day,
that melody, I'm like closer than close. I sound like the guy.
oh my days. I'm actually ready.
Ready? Okay, cool. I'm Vinay.
And I'm Ryan.
And this is For the Creators.
Welcome back to episode 30. 30. The other day we was 21.
We turned 30 real quick.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, that when we started out and, you know, when we were thinking about the number 50 episode, it seemed so far away. But to think that
it seemed like not unachievable, but you know, like when you've started loads of projects and you think, you know, are we going to be that consistent to get to that number? But yeah, we're on the way, man.
Literally, I think we've had, except for that one time when we had technical difficulties where we only put out one show.
Yeah.
But we've consistently put out 2 shows a week.
Yeah.
For I don't even know how many weeks it's been.
Since
so I've just
May,
been looking at it.
So
it's
4,
been
8, 12. This will be the
14th week. Yeah.
Wow. Congrats.
Congratulations, brother, that we're doing it.
100%, man.
Yeah. So what have you been up to?
What we've been up to, a lot of clearing out stuff, like personal things, like just getting out of the old and into the new. A lot of new chapters starting. So yeah, sold our old car yesterday. We buy any cars, all right, you know.
Did you? Is that how you sold it?
Yeah. Literally 15 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Good price?
Well, but it saved us the time of like posting up pictures on Facebook Messenger and meeting people, and you know, it just saved all that time. So that was good. Yeah, and editing. I've kind of fixed my laptop in a way. It lets me log in, but it doesn't let me into any of my music programs. So it's kind of like being on what they call it when you come out of prison. But you
probation.
Yeah, being on probation and being on curfew. Like I'm free, but I'm not. So yeah. How about you?
So the Mac saga continues.
It does.
So it's been like the 3rd week now.
3rd week, but and this is probably good for our listeners as well. Like we were hit with that. And both like on the music side and the podcast side, but it's made us think of different solutions. So now, you know, we've got other solutions for that. So yeah, it's been
I've kind of recruited a new member to the team.
Yeah.
So that's really good as well.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more of the same. I celebrated with my dad this Sunday. It was his 60th birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
nice.
Had a little family barbecue yesterday, which was really nice.
Was it raining?
It wasn't luckily it stopped raining, and we had our little time to chill out and enjoy each other, and then literally when everyone was starting to go home, it started to rain again.
Oh, nice. So it's like it's Sunday, people go home.
Yeah. So we had that. It was really nice, and you don't ever think about, because like some of the men that were there, you know, you've grown up with them all your life, you don't appreciate how old they are. And when some of them were saying to me like they're 72 and they're 75 and all this, I was like, flipping it, mate, I'm getting old.
or they are.
They are getting old. But the good thing about and one of the things one of them mentioned to me was that when he went to the doctors in his 30s, the doctor told him not to drink. And then he's like 40 years now on top of that.
Wow.
Since they told him not to drink. So his logic was, you know, live your life to the fullest, because you just never know what's going to happen either way. So
that's true.
You can be overly healthy and don't drink.
It's true.
Or you can drink and still live very long. Yeah. And another thing that they were saying as well is that they're outliving us now. Which is pretty scary, because people are dying young.
Yeah.
Now, back in the day when someone died.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
When someone died back in the day, it was because they're old. Now people are just dying left, right, and centre.
Yeah, man. There's a lot more pressures. There's a lot more mental health issues and things like that then spur on how your body reacts, and then that can, you know, we've seen tons of evidence of that. So yeah, take care of it. Listen to your bodies. Listen to your body.
Definitely. And like I was saying to you about the nutritionist who told me today, like, you literally are what you eat, because the body renews itself and your organs renews itself on a regular basis. And when she said that to me, it really made me, she said something like 30 days. I think it's different parts of the body renews itself at a different pace.
Yeah.
So your skin renews itself maybe every 30 days and things. Don't quote me, guys.
For the Creators Health Podcast.
But just know that it renews itself.
Yeah.
And when she said that to me, the whole concept of you are what you eat really drove home for me, because I was like, oh, I have nothing to say now. I'll just go over here and just sit down.
Yeah.
Because I've been eating so much junk and I'm complaining about, I feel really lethargic and things like that. But if you're putting that junk in, it's only going to...
It's all about ingredients, man. That's all I always say to people. Like, if you want to change your results, if you want to change the meal, you need to change the ingredients.
Very good
That's how it works, man.
Yeah. So basically, I'm going to try to go on a diet. Well, no, I don't
You
think
don't
diet doesn't work for me. I'll just try to eat healthy.
Yeah.
And exercise at least.
80-20.
Yeah.
So what I do is I don't have carbs in the week. Just keep it greens and meats, water. You don't drink any sugars or anything like that. You don't have any sweets. And then that's Monday to Friday. And on the weekend, have what you want.
And then on the weekend, he's basically getting
Everything.
waffles delivered to his house,
That was like 6 months ago.
No, because I'm on there and I'm like, I went to Nando's with this guy, had me feeling all guilty and stuff, and then my guy's getting waffles delivered to his house. I'm like, that is the life. Like, where have I been? I didn't even know that existed.
Uber Eats, man.
Yeah.
Uber Eats. But yeah, what happens is you start doing it for a while and you don't even fancy things anymore. Your cravings change. So
I'm craving veg now, yeah.
I do. Yeah, I always eat my vegetables first anyway. But yeah, this is a good healthy start to the
start.
You know why? Because now we're 30. We're 30. Now
we're grown up now.
Yeah, now we're grown up. Looking down, we've got a little belly in that.
Our metabolism isn't as fast as when we were episode 20. We've got to go on a diet.
Exactly. Oh, that's funny. So this week we had an amazing episode with Nene Partizan.
Pasotam.
There's a bit of my speech dyslexia kicking in. What do they call those things when you mix the letters around? It's called a palindrome. That's what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. That happens to me all the time. Nene Partizan, sorry. Amazing episode. She's the co-founder of Vine Creatives and We Are Stripes. And she's had such a decorated history within advertising and just like creative things in general. And she's such a lovely spirit that Vanilla got to sit down with. I got a lot from the episode. What did you get from it?
I think the main thing that I got from the episode was the importance of adding value. So when I asked Nene, what's one piece of advice that she'll impart on, our audience, she basically said one time she sat down with a PR agent and she was complaining about the fact that, Vine wasn't attracting as many clients and things as they wanted. And the PR agent kind of turned around and said to her, what do you actually do, Nene, for the community? And then the lady said to her, and then Nene was kind of listing, I've worked for so-and-so and I've done this and we've done that. We've got this experience, because Nene's worked for like Warner Brothers, Samsung, Vodafone. Every
Disney.
Name that you can think of, she's worked with them. Every brand that you fantasize of working with one day. And then the PR agent literally turned around and said to her, you need to find a way to add value and to give back to your community. And once you find a way to do that, you'll attract clients anyway. Mm-hmm. Because when you give good, you attract good. Mm-hmm. So that's what I really took.
Yeah, I definitely got that from her as well. Like, that was one of my points that I was going to say. And whatever she was going to the PR for, the PR said, serve your community and it will take care of itself, essentially. So I thought that was brilliant. What I got from Nene was that which makes you different makes you special. And I think that's really key, especially as a creative. We're all weird. And you just need to trust in your weirdness, especially like up and coming creatives. Like if you're, I don't know, 10 years old, or if you're in your teens, it's like hard to accept that part of yourself, you know. But that is what will make you different. Like she was saying, if she's really into Marvel, and she was really into Marvel from way before it was like super popular mainstream. And had she had leaned into that more, she would be a Marvel expert now. She would be getting a whole different kind of clientele and business and everything. So yeah, lean into that, lean into your weirdness. That's what I got from her. And yeah, the other thing was to serve your community, because the PR will do its job. If X is good enough, Y will take care of itself.
Definitely. Yeah, that really came across to me as well. The whole idea of really pursuing your passion and being comfortable with that and being comfortable in your own skin. So yeah, all in all, it was a really good conversation with Nene. And I hope that, you know, our audience gets from it what we did.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think we're going to have to get Nene down for a snapshot episode soon.
I would say for you guys to encourage Nene, but Nene is literally one of our biggest fans, so we'll speak to her about it. And Nene happens to all know our guest who we have on the show today, and they've actually done some work together. Yeah, so that makes it a nice time to introduce Naomi Grant.
Hello.
Drum roll. Thank you very much for coming down today, Naomi.
Thank you for having me. Really good.
Good.
How are you guys?
Yeah,
doing
really
great,
well.
Thanks.
Really well. So can you explain to the audience who you are and what you do?
Yeah. So my name is Naomi Grant. I'm the founder of Lamb, and we are a collective of creatives that are seeking to redefine images of brown people in the media.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That was good. That was super clear.
Nice elevator pitch.
Yeah, so say that last line again, please.
So we're a collective of creatives who are seeking to redefine images of people of colour in the media.
And what made you obviously spot everyone, like most people know it's a problem, but what made you take a stand for that and make Lamb?
So I took a gap year about a year ago, and I wanted to do something that pushed me creatively. And I always saw my two young cousins as like my biggest motivators, because they're two young brown girls, and I wanted to positively impact the society they were growing up in. So I started by creating a documentary that looked at colorism within the UK. So we filmed about 30 Black British individuals, and the response to that showed me that there was actually a need for this, that people need to have these type of conversations. That was the first time that we got like major press on for film, and it showed me that there was a longing for it, and that people said they was healed, or they found like a sort of healing from it.
Oh, wow.
So that pushed me to continue doing it and make something more.
So you saw the potential in it?
Yeah.
What made you make it a documentary? Have you got a background in filming or like filmmaking? Or
No, literally. I mean, I first started like being interested in film at like 15, but when I went to school, I done very academic based subjects. So I done English, sociology, and economics. But I've always had an interest in film. So I literally just went to Go Think Big, got some funding, bought a camera, and shot it with me and my brother and my sister. Go Think Big, so they fund any up and coming ideas. So I think it's from the age of 16 to 25. Okay. If you have an idea and you could pitch it, then they'll give you money.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, so it's really, really good.
Too old. Well, they're going to do things for adults.
Yeah, that's...
Well, adults have ideas too.
Yeah, that's true. Like creativity has no age or bound. But
that's true.
So you decided to pick up the camera, and so did you direct it and film it yourself, or?
Yeah, so that documentary I directed, produced and edited.
Well done.
Thank you.
It's like at such a high level for that to be. Is that your first?
Yeah, that was the first one. The second one that's out, I directed and produced, and I got a DOP and editor to work on that with me.
Okay,
it's amazing.
Cool.
It's amazing. It's really well done.
Thank you.
So what was the vision behind it? How did you come up with the concept for it? Because it seems very like thought out, and you can see that. And the thing what I like about it as well is so, not that it shouldn't be visual, but the visuals are very captivating, and they can almost be like photographs that stood well on their own. So was that something that you really thought about beforehand? Because it was kind of like allowing the audience to interpret it in their own way.
Yeah. We're talking about Future First, right? The second one. Yeah. I did want that because I always think that art is something that can be interpreted. I don't necessarily want to be so explicit with what I create. So the fact that you said that is really good. The vision behind it, I just envisioned Black women as the leaders, basically. I saw women in my life, so my grandmother, my mother, as multifaceted women. So they were both like intelligent. They could be like angry, but they'll also be soft and sweet. And I think that we're not always allowed to exist as like simultaneously as all them things. So I wanted to create something that pictured Black women in all these forms and showed them that we can be multifaceted beings.
So there's different levels of our emotions. There's one day that you're going to see me maybe a little bit sad and depressed. Another day I'm going to be happy. Another day I'm going to be angry because I have the right to feel that emotion as well.
Yeah,
everyone has these emotions. It's just annoying that, you know, people are boxed in. It's like you can only feel this.
Exactly.
It's silly.
And one of the things, because we always try to find topics that we can discuss with the guests that we have on the show, and one of the things I found was a lot of the scripts and the things that are portrayed on television portray that angry Black woman. So it reinforces the idea that we're all angry. So sometimes you go into a situation and you have a valid point, but you can't get that point across because you're seen as angry. But I'm not angry. I just have a point. And I feel like, do you think that the media, like obviously you do because that's the topic, but do you think that things have changed over time, or is it still the same rhetoric that's been promoted over and over again?
I do think the media is the biggest perpetuator of that stereotype. I think as of late, we have changed our own narrative. So with like the Issa Raes, the Ava DuVernays, so we're beginning to change that space, but there's still a lot more to be done. And even outside of just Black women, there's like Latina women, other races and cultures that need to have a platform, because it's important to see yourself reflected, especially as a young person,
and reflected accurately.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think there is a slight shift, but there's still a lot more work to be done, and that's our aim at LAM, is to create more films and more art that accurately represent Black women and men.
So how do you actually do that as LAM? Are you like curating scripts and ideas, connecting the dots behind the scenes, or? Yeah,
so I'm at the stage now where I'm trying to turn it more into a creative company. So I'm working with 2 clients, so Project Embrace and Bespoke Binny, and I'm working with them with their video campaign ideas. But also outside of that, we are creating short films. So another short film should be released by the end of this year, hopefully.
Well done. Nice.
And then at the start of the year as well. And both of those films tackle conversational issues, so issues that sometimes get swept under the rug, or sometimes it's just dealt with in a ignorant manner by the media. So that's the way that we try to do it.
That's brilliant. And you just reminded me of something. So our very first Spotlight guest is a young director called Darnell, and he done a couple short films. One was called Dear Male Ego. So same kind of thing. So it's focused on young Black males, portraying it in a different light to what is obviously always on the TV or on screens, which is a negative image. So he's trying to show something that's a bit more of an accurate depiction of just like a well-rounded depiction. And he's recently done another short film, Dear Male Ego 2, does that palindrome thing.
Yeah.
Which premiered recently, and it got premiered by Wonderland Mag.
Yeah, cool.
And yeah, that just reminded me of the same thing, and I should hook you up.
Yeah, sure, I'm gonna check him out as well.
It's really funny because it's almost the opposite of your show, like the direct opposite, and it shows similar topics, and even the the editing of it's quite similar
yeah.
as well. So it's ironic that you don't know each other, but you have the same vibe.
Like same vision.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna check him out.
Yeah,
sounds interesting.
so you got a short film coming out end of the year, and you want to make more like bespoke content for different brands and stuff?
Yes, I do want to get into working with brands and companies, because our main aim is to change the media landscape, and I know that could only be done by working with like these major brands, and I want to help them to do it right. So if you saw the H&M like scandal, that thing that happened, so hopefully that's what I'm trying to target, to avoid those sort of mistakes happening again. And that could only be done if people of color are behind the scenes and are at the table making those decisions. So that's our aims, like where I hope to get with Lamb.
But is it going to be specific more to like the movie industry, or
I would just say media, because our main form that we operate in is film, but also photography.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say media.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's a really respectable mission.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I've got one question. It's slightly controversial in the sense where, for example, LeBron James, he posted a pic the other day, I think it was of Beyonce, or possibly all of the covers that were showing black females that's come out recently.
Magazine covers.
Yeah, and I think his caption was along the lines of, black women, almost saying that black women are the best. And there were all of these comments underneath it, basically saying that he was racist for saying that black women are the best. And that's sometimes the argument that I hear a lot when, I have like white friends, and they're like, why do black people always force this topic of inclusivity, and we need to have BET and things like that are separating us? Isn't that a form of racism in itself? So what's your view on that topic? Is it reverse racism, or is it just because we're standing up for the fact that we don't have a position in mainstream media, so we're making our voices heard?
I don't think it's reverse racism at all. I think that for the large majority of all of our lives, we've always been fed one like narrative, and there's always been like this Eurocentric ideal. And I think now that we're gaining more power in different industries, so not even media, tech, business, we're gaining more authority and more like senior roles in those positions. I think now that we're doing that, we're just doing what we should do, which is telling our own stories. So I don't think that's an issue. I don't think being pro-black is being anti-white. It's just being pro-black.
I'd agree. And I mean, the word pro has kind of like a negative connotation to it, but I just think you can't make love negative.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If he's saying something that's stemmed from love, he's not putting down anybody, it can't be negative. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think you're exactly right. It's just you can only tell your own story.
Yeah.
So if you're in a position where you can tell a story, you're only going to tell your own story. That's all you know. So yeah, that's my thought.
And I think there was I was watching another interview with Gabrielle Union, and she was basically saying something along the lines of, it's time for us to stop trying to get into the house, and it's time to build our own house. Because for so long as black people, we're constantly sending this message out there into the world. We need to be included. We need to be included. We need to be included. And it gets to a point now where we have to start creating our own, and creating opportunities for ourselves, and creating media houses for ourselves, so we don't have to ask permission for our films to be put out there. We can do it for ourselves. So what do you think about that argument? Is it always about getting into the house, or should we be trying to build our own house?
I find it funny because with the perception from over here looking into America is that that's not an issue, because you have, for example, BET, which has been around for 20 years, and you have, or maybe even more, you have Oprah is like one of the biggest stars on the planet. You've got Tyler Perry, who produces movies for different people. You've got the whole music industry. You've got Atlanta in terms of like the whole hub. So I don't know. I mean, I suppose there's a lot more work to be done, but yeah, I think.
But it could be because most of the times, whenever whenever anything's put out by the black community, it automatically gets tagged urban. Or if you even look at the other day when you sent me that post about the Oscars, where they're basically saying that they're changing up the Oscars now to recognize films that are more popular. So a film like the Black Panther, did it receive any nods from the Oscars?
We won't know yet.
Yeah. So, for example, a
could.
film like that potentially may not have made the cut
Because
because
it's
of
not
the
like an Oscar.
Yeah.
movie.
Oscar-worthy film, but it was such a powerful film, and if you really break it down, it had such a powerful message. But if the people that are in that position, it's like, yes, we can put out these films, we can build our own house, but will our house get recognition?
Yeah.
That's very, very interesting. I mean, you mentioned a lot about the US and their, I think our story is very different in terms of like the Black British.
Yeah.
I think we still have a long way to go.
Oh, man.
Like we don't have our UK Oprah yet or anything like that, but
Coming.
yeah, definitely coming.
I'm applying for that right now.
Applications being submitted.
Definitely coming, but I feel as though if we as a community build each other up, then we wouldn't necessarily need to look for them for validation. So,
Indeed.
for instance, if someone was to create like a UK BET or BET award, and then give someone that award, if we aren't saying that, okay, this is a valid thing, then it wouldn't be seen as valid. But I think it is kind of up to us to support each other, even with Black businesses and things like this as well. Just any like entrepreneurial thing that we're all doing, I think is up to us to really put that support, and then from that it could build like the validation, and then we won't necessarily need to go and seek.
Yeah, so if we make enough noise over here, eventually they'll need to come over here and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they do anyway. I mean, I think our culture is very, very strong, and they do always come over to steal, but they don't give credit. So they know that
That happens a lot.
they know that, you know, we are here kind of thing.
Yeah. That perfectly leads us on to our topic of the week. We'll probably have to swap that section around, but because it leads on perfectly. And the topic of the week that we put up on our Instagram is globalization changing the way that we view culture? What do you guys think?
So I think that it is. I guess there's not a blanket yes or a no answer to the question.
I suppose
but
how is globalization changing?
I think globalization is changing the way that we view culture, because there was a comment on our Instagram post, actually. I'll read that out first, because I think it ties in with what I wanted to say on the topic. So she said, it's only...
Who is it?
It's by Murray_online. And she basically said, it is, but it's only pushing culture that is popular. And by popular, meaning someone somewhere has made a decision on what's cool. Which is an interesting point.
But that someone somewhere could be billions of people. Because that's what makes something popular, right?
But then
I guess I'm thinking in the terms of like
you're
online.
thinking on a broad level.
Yeah.
I think through social media we're redefining culture, but I also think the culture that's promoted, I think in the mainstream, is probably what she's referring to in terms of what is cool. Because for example, I watched
like those Balenciaga trainers.
Yeah, or like I watched this. I've been watching loads of documentaries. If that doesn't come across, but I was watching one and it was about Calabasas style. And it was done, I think it was done by Vice. And basically, Calabasas has now got this very street...
Oh, I've seen that.
It's like a very streetwear type
Calabasas,
of style.
California.
Calabasas in Los Angeles. And it was all started because of Kanye. And Kanye's put out this line, I think, with Adidas called Calabasas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then... But now there's this whole streetwear trend that's basically stolen from what would be quote unquote the ghetto girls of maybe New York and the Bronx and all of that, and they've made it into Calabasas style. So now everyone dresses the same, everyone almost looks the same these days. So someone's actually selected what cool looks like, and that is like the new culture. But then obviously there's the other side of things where you can look at in terms of there's more mixed race families and things like that now. So how do you really define culture in 2018, especially when you live in like large cities like London or New York and things like our culture is all blended. Because if I was in the Caribbean, I'd be eating West Indian food all day. That's standard. I might just go and have a Chinese or a takeaway on the weekend, but predominantly during the week I'll be in West Indian. I live here, so I don't eat like that. One day I might have Italian, one day I might have Chinese,
Yeah,
I might
right.
have
Yeah,
Thai.
I see your point.
So it's like our cultures are so blended now. I have Filipino friends that do jerk chicken.
Yeah.
So where do you...
Yeah, I've got a lot of views, but
Does it exist?
I'll let.
Does culture still exist in
That's-
2018?
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Go on.
I mean, that's very interesting. I do think it exists. I think that even this idea of culture blending, I think it is a positive thing, because at the end of the day, we're able to exchange our goods and we're able to kind of grow as a collective. But I think the only time where it's problematic is whereby you're stealing something and not crediting the originators of that thing. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's...
What about this idea of if we continue moving in this way where culture is almost evolving and entwining into one culture, are we gonna, because like for example with myself, when I grew up in the Caribbean, we had specific dishes for the island, and all half those things I can't even cook.
Yeah.
And you know, like traditional things that
Sorry, the lights have just gone out 2 seconds.
I'll pause.
Oh, there you go.
Globalisation changing electricity.
Yes, it obviously does. No, but in terms of like, you know, if you have traditional like Nigerian dishes or traditional West Indian dishes,
Yeah.
but we're also globalized now that we don't even cook it. Like black people's food
That's
takes
true.
long to cook, you know.
Yeah.
So half of the time out of convenience, we don't know how to cook it. So imagine our generation now,
And
then
what would we
having
teach our
children.
kids?
What are we
Yeah.
passing down to our children?
I think we're seeing a very, very slow process of that happening, because on the flip side, there are a lot of like cultural identifiers from like different countries and stuff that people are still very proud of, which is good. And if you think about it, we're seeing it from a London lens. Do you know what I mean? Where it's kind of everyone's second or third generation. You know, of wherever you're from, and it's everyone's blended. So like London's very much like a soup with loads of different ingredients. But if you go back to the countries of origin, all those traditions are very much
Remain
alive
the
and
same.
kicking. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of globalization, changing culture, yes, I think it is, because if you live in a cosmopolitan city, you know, coastal cities, London, New York, LA, Toronto, etc., you're going to see more evidence of that. But if you're from countries that aren't as cosmopolitan, you're going to see more of the original cultural identifiers. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's a positive thing. I think it's really, really good that like even like music is probably the best example of this right now, because you've got like, for example,
Afro bashment.
Afro bashment, but then you've got a lot of Latino music that's kind of crossed over into hip hop, and then by way of hip hop being the biggest genre in the world, pop. So now you've got Cardi B with 2 verses in Spanish.
That's true.
That
And
could
it
have
still
never
goes
have
to
happened
number
before.
one.
Yeah.
Exactly. And obviously that was because of Despacito with Justin Bieber and etc. I couldn't remember the names, that's why I said etc. Sorry for the disrespect. But yeah, and I think that's just making it so much better, because now we're discovering artists, you know, there's different quirks and different fashion, and then, you know, it just makes it's sick, like it's wicked.
Yeah, I think from a creative perspective it is. I just think it's probably one of those ones where there isn't, it's just finding a balance. I think striking a balance in everything is important. It's like we still need to identify with the culture that we were brought up in, because there's things that make us unique, but still being open enough to embrace other cultures as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. But I don't know.
I think like there are thing is we're making new traditions as well. There's new like cultural identifiers just by being a Londoner, let alone being from England. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone's got different friends from different backgrounds and stuff like that, and that's just how it is. Like, and first and foremost, before your background, you're just people, and that's the great thing about living in a place like London is that you tend to just see someone as a person. I'm maybe just speaking from my own lens, but it's evident that like people have friends from different backgrounds. You work with people from everywhere. You know what I mean? Like it just happens, and I think ultimately the globalization is a positive thing because we want to make sure that we're all seeing each other as humans at the end of the day.
Yeah, I would say I agree. I think the balance as well is important. I know I definitely want to teach my children like my Nigerian and Jamaican traditions, especially at the time that we're in now with Brexit. It's kind of difficult to, I mean, I'm obviously a Londoner, but it is hard to fully rep that because we're in a state whereby we're kind of being pushed out because a lot of people made those decisions to kick black people out basically, or with that point of view.
Well, not just.
Yeah, not only, but with that kind of lens. And then even with like the Windrush generation. So politically, we're still kind of pushed to the outskirts. So it's kind of hard sometimes to fully rep London and enough to say, okay, I'm not going to teach my children my Nigerian and Jamaican traditions. So yeah, I would say it is a balance. Even for me being London born, I do want to go back to my countries and learn more so that I can instill that within my children because it is important. It's a sense of identity as well. Like both countries are very strong with their culture. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely striking a balance.
So one of the questions I wanted to ask the group is, what is the difference between culture and stereotype? And do they both lend itself to each other? Because sometimes when you can look at something can be deemed racist because we associate that with a particular race. So if you speak with like an Indian sort of twang, that can be seen as you making a mockery of their accent. Or if there's certain things that traditionally like a black person would do, or like white man can't jump. What is the difference between stereotyping something and actually it's just a cultural thing?
I think culture is what it is, and I think stereotypes is what other people from that aren't from that culture identify that culture with.
But aren't some of the stereotypes valid?
Yeah, of course, because it's basically they're just picking up on behaviors that that belong to a group.
Yeah.
And it's a stereotype because they don't belong to that group, and everyone does it. And racism, I guess, stems from people outside of that group picking up on those stereotypes and making fun out of it. But then, and I can talk about it from being black, we all do it within our own community. So, that's why I've never said the N-word, because how can you be, my personal opinion is, how can you be angry if someone else says it if you're saying it yourself? Do you know what I mean? So it's like people tend to think racism is what you say about your own people said by someone else.
I'd agree. I think stereotypes are often fueled by ignorance, and culture is based on tradition and facts.
Yeah, but the reason why I asked the question is, for example, if you're writing a script for a film, isn't it almost striking the fine balance between stereotyping and culture?
Depends what it's about.
Because, for example, it's like a black person may speak with a certain twang, or they might dress with a certain type of swagger, and that's why I was kind of asking one of the questions for this week's topic is, how do you define what's a black person, or how do you define what's a white person, or can you write a script that's ethnicity neutral? Is that even possible?
I think so.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think that being black is or any race. I think it makes up who you are, or at least is a large part of who you are. I think that shows now, well, ones that I really enjoy, like Insecure, she isn't a stereotypical black girl. I don't know if you guys have watched it.
I haven't seen it, but I know who's Issa Rae, right?
Issa Rae, yeah. So she isn't a stereotypical black woman, but she's very like complex and multifaceted. So I think shows now that we are pushing has that kind of
different angle.
Yeah. So I think it is possible to write one without having the stereotype.
Or without having an ethnicity, because I'm
I
just thinking.
I think you can definitely write.
Because it's like Idris Elba being James Bond,
right? Exactly.
A lot of people associate James Bond with being a white character.
Well, that's because that's how it was originally written and described. So I mean, people
but is James Bond? Because with James Bond, isn't it just a name that's given to spies? So James Bond can James Bond be anyone, or is James Bond one person?
So the way the author wrote it is a character that's got a background like from, I think, Scotland or things like that. So that's a different argument. But what you said about can you write a script that's ethnicity neutral? Absolutely, because it's characters, and characters have stories, and you don't necessarily have to add the cultural identifiers to that character.
Don't you? But how do you tell the story of a if I see a black person in a film...
No, but you said ethnicity neutral.
No, but this is what I'm saying. Is it possible? Because if you saw a black man in a film and then suddenly what we associate with black people is not portrayed in it, is that really the true essence of the character? Because it's difficult for us not to see colour now as an audience.
I mean, it depends what they're saying. Because if it was a black boy living in, let's say, the Bronx, and if you was to write that he's a drug dealer, then that's a stereotype. And so that would be where it's done like negatively. But then if you was to say he's a black boy living in the Bronx and he likes like Marvel or something, like that is still, actually no, that's not, he likes chicken. That is something that's associated with black people, but isn't necessarily a negative stereotype.
But that could be associated with, I mean, if you're just watching this, if you're reading the script and it said boy says this, and there's no cultural identifiers, it could be anyone.
But how do you build up because that's just the script, but I'm thinking building the story around that person and the character.
But a character,
they
this
have to
is what I'm trying to say.
identify with an ethnicity or a culture or something. Because, for example, so they're not into street crime, they're not a drug dealer, they're into Marvel, but who's the mum going to be?
Mum's the mum.
And isn't the mum still that in the film? Isn't there going to be some kind of? To me, there has to be an element of ethnicity.
I think there has to be.
Yeah, because it's how do you tell the story? It's like, for example, Black Panther. Could that be a white guy?
I mean, that was very, very black though. So,
so you're saying, so hold on. Because you're using James Bond and
Black
Panther.
I'm thinking, how do you tell the story of an individual without adding culture or ethnicity to it? In terms of, all right, so you know what the gist of the film is. You know what direction the story is going to go in. So he's like a tech guy, and he's going to go and he's going to solve an amazing problem. But to add the cushioning around it, how do you put everything around it without an ethnicity?
Because you can have you can have 5 people with 5 different ethnicities that have exactly the same upbringing. Let's use New York, for example, and you've got 5 different races, and they all come from the same home. So let's say single parent families. So single parent family, and they've all gone to the same kind of schools. They're from the same economic background. They've got the same struggles that they have in education and things like that. That can be any ethnicity. The main thing is the story, and it's the story that cushions the character and takes you along. I don't think the ethnicity part of it and the culture part of it will come by virtue of who it is. If you imagine, like, obviously it's a film, but imagine it like a theatre play where anyone can play a role.
Yeah.
The story is the story and the characters are the characters.
I mean,
That's my view.
By bringing in the theatre bit, I can see.
Yeah,
it
with the
more,
theatre,
like,
yeah.
It helped me to visualize it a little bit more, because that is true. In theatre, anyone can play
yeah.
a character, so anyone can play like a Shakespeare character.
Mm.
But I just think visually on screen, you just
Yeah.
like to give it some context. I want to see.
I mean,
Well, it's funny,
something
like,
black about that person, or
well, it's funny, like,
but it's what defines black.
well, on the flip side, like, today there's, I don't know what movie it is, but Disney have commissioned a movie that's going to have its first gay character, and they've cast Jack Whitehall, who's a comedian and he's not gay, to play this character. And I saw on Twitter today, and I had to refrain from not like arguing with people
Yeah.
because
Were they saying he has to be gay?
yeah, and it's like, he's an actor. The whole point of acting is that you play something that you're not. Like, it's ridiculous. But loads of people are up in arms because that should have gone to someone who's naturally more that way. But it's like, the
How
whole
do you
point
define gay again?
there you go.
Like,
So
how do
this
you
is
define
why I brought it up,
blackness?
because there you go. Because when you use a different example, it just brings up the same things about stereotypes and all of that. And with acting, anyone can play anyone because it's a character first and foremost.
I think maybe the audience might, if that film was to be made, I think maybe the audience would be the ones to add the stereotype, because I think that's what we do naturally as people. We gravitate towards ourselves, and I think we'll add that.
Yeah, but that's what you're saying.
I just feel like it's I don't know if we've been conditioned to think this, but obviously we've been conditioned to think this is why we're even having the discussion.
Absolutely.
But when you draw the reference to theatre, that really made me think, what argument?
No, but it just peels back the layers of how we're conditioned to view something like theatre, and then how we're conditioned to view something that's on screen. It's like we view it on screen, it's like, oh no, that's more matter of fact. And then when we review it on stage, you're like, they're acting.
Yeah, but it's also, you can compare that to how we view music compared to how we view something on screen as well. Because when you see someone on screen, you automatically put them in the role as an actor. You know that is separate to them. But when we listen to someone rapping, and they're rapping about all this violence, some try to justify it with like, that's not really how I live. I'm just rapping about a character, essentially. Or I'm telling a story through the medium of music. So it's like we've been conditioned, like you said, to look at all these things in different ways, but then art can be interpreted in any way. It just depends on the individual who's interpreting it.
Yeah, so Lamb have got their work cut out.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Yeah, but so what's the most creative things that you guys have seen this week?
Oh yeah. Do you want to go first?
No, you can go first.
You got yours, right? All right, so mine is Sierra's Instagram.
We've been watching her dancing.
Yeah. Look, I follow her, it pops up on my screen. But I don't know if it's from like a music video or something. Right, my mic's
Just
just
when
going
she's
down.
in the desert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
Ryan's like,
Ciara's a
yeah.
good dancer.
I saw his comment the other day. I'm sure he was.
Oh, what did I put? Did I comment?
It was about 1,000 claps.
Oh right, yeah.
Like, amen.
It's creativity. I felt that was the one thing that stuck out to me this week.
What is in this video?
Her dancing, innit?
What was so creative about the dancing, the twerking, or the outfit?
Dancing is inherently creative. No, the outfit. No, but what I was saying is, I don't know if it's from a music video or if it's like a trailer for
Maybe it's something that's coming.
Yeah,
probably the next video after Level Up.
Yeah, but I like the costume and stuff that she was wearing. I think I heard a clip of the song as well. It's like Afro beats kind of thing. So yeah, that was the most creative thing that I saw this week on Ciara's Instagram.
Yeah, so to describe it, Ciara appears to be in the middle of the desert somewhere, and she's just performing, but she's almost in traditional African dress, and she's dancing like
traditionally African.
Traditional African would dance as well, but there's a lot of twerking and booty shaking.
It stems from somewhere, right?
She looks amazing.
I need to watch that. Is that Level Up? Or
no, I think it's probably
Instagram?
the follow-up to Level. This is probably her new video.
Follow up.
She's
Follow up.
She's put out, I don't know, it seems like if it's a teaser for something that's coming
I
next. So it might
see.
just be a clip from her new video that's coming out for her new single. But I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So what was yours?
This week or just in general?
Oh, just recently,
This
yeah.
week, just in general.
Okay. I really like the Praise the Lord video, the A$AP Rocky one.
Ah, with
And
Skepta.
it's Skepta, yeah.
Yeah.
I really like
was
that
really
song, but I
good.
haven't seen the video.
The video is really good by Dexter Navy, and his videos are always, I feel like they always push the envelope and they push the culture as well. And he always does like cool stuff. So
Is that the one where it's shot in New York and London?
Yeah,
And they're going back
yeah.
and forth. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a brilliant video.
yeah, and he done the LSD video as well for A$AP as well.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Nice.
it's really cool.
Is he a UK or is he American?
I actually don't know.
ASAP
Actually don't
LSD.
know. Yeah.
I think one of my friends worked on that as
Oh,
well.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I don't know
cool.
what his role was. He might have been a cinematographer.
Oh, cool.
Show Me Patwari. He's a massive music video director from
cool.
Virginia. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so now that I'm thinking about it, I want to kind of mention two.
Yeah, I've got another one too.
Yeah, because there's Drake's stage for the tour that he's currently on with Migos. They've got a Ferrari flying through the stage. That's just hovering
do you know what?
over
That
the
makes
stage.
sense because Migos, their album artwork had a flying Ferrari. I
Oh,
think.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
maybe
they've
it's
got
like
a
a-
flying Ferrari on stage, which is interesting. But then the other one that I liked as well was all of the things, the promotional assets that they use for Astroworld.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Travis
I was
Scott,
gonna
yeah.
say
So
that.
obviously he's got the massive golden heads, and those
Yeah.
seem to have popped up all over the world, it seems.
Oh, is that what he did?
Yeah, so they've had
Ah.
them in loads of different locations. There was even one in London that was floating on the Thames. That
Yeah.
Oh,
was
actually, I
on the boat
didn't
on
see
the
that.
Thames.
Really?
Yeah, it was here as well.
Oh, really?
And I like the whole
Sick.
concept of it. And
Yeah,
I think Astroworld was actually like a theme park
That's
that
right.
he grew
in
up
Houston.
that he used to go to when he was younger, and he wanted to recreate that. And he did the whole all of the artwork and everything was done by David LaChapelle.
Yes,
so,
he's one of my favorite
he's amazing
photographers,
as
yeah.
well. So that was really cool, I
Yeah.
think, because they really, really went all out on it.
For sure. Shout out to Sylvia Roan. She's a head of Epic Records.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, that Travis is on. Yeah, smashed it. The other thing that I saw this week that's pretty creative. 2 secs. We have light. Peng Life.
Oh yes,
Yeah, so-
the Channel 4.
New Channel 4 show from the guy that does the... What's his
the
show
chicken
called?
shop.
Yeah, Chicken Shop. Peng... What was it called?
Is this show called Chicken Shop?
No, it's not called
it's
Chicken
not the
Shop,
chicken-
but
but
the
basically
chicken
the
guy.
chicken-
Yeah,
Chicken Shop.
Chicken connoisseur.
Chicken
That's
that's
connoisseur,
it.
it.
Yeah. But now they have a show called
Peng
Peng Life where they basically review things out of 5, and it could be like sports cars, hotels, most expensive kebabs and stuff. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. It felt like a Saturday morning show to me. I think it comes on Friday nights because it's like super fast paced. It's like someone who's like super hyperactive that's just come in your room and like, "Rah, rah."
It's probably has it taken the Big Nasty slot?
Yeah, because Big
Yeah,
Nasty's
it's
finished,
finished now,
and then so that's come on. But it's still good. It's like I like their vibe. It made me laugh. Yeah, I thought it was quite good.
Yeah, because Vamp, who we had on the show, they did the launch party for it.
Oh really?
Yeah, for Peng Life. So they had like all like the I think the giveaway bags were like chicken shop boxes and things
That's
like
good.
that. So I saw the promo on Vamp.
Wow.
Yeah, so Vamp
For the
covered that
creators
as well.
guests, just
doing great things.
doing great things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that brings us nicely near the end. So we have
Yeah.
a question that we always ask, which is, what would you say is your why, Naomi?
My why? I would definitely say my 2 young cousins and making, like, positively impacting the society that they're growing up in. Not only them, but other young girls as well. My younger self, who didn't see myself in the media or reflected in accurate ways. So yeah, that's how I would say is my why.
That's a brilliant reason. When did that hit you though? Was it?
I would say 18.
How old are your little nieces?
They're
Sorry, cousins.
7 and 5.
Mm.
Yeah. So at 18, when I took my gap year, that's when I really I tried to really understand myself and understand myself in relation to the world that I was living in as well. And that's when it kind of hit me that, okay, I want to do something that's positive and something that could push the culture forward as well. So
Beautiful.
Which ties in really nicely with our other question, which is, what would you tell your 10-year-old self, knowing what you know now and experiencing what you have to date?
I would say worry a lot less. I think because I'm like a writer and creative and everything, I think a lot. But that leads to anxiety, and it just leads. You can't control things just by worrying about it. So
very true.
I'll definitely say worry less and believe more, work hard, and everything.
Worry less, believe more,
and work hard.
hard.
Yeah,
Work
and
hard.
everything falls into alignment. So
Mm.
yeah,
Just have to do what you're doing, and eventually it will come your way.
That's it. That's
definitely.
brilliant. So what's coming up for Lamb?
So yeah, the two video campaigns I'm working with for Project Embrace and Bespoke Binny, and then hopefully a new short film at the end of the year as well.
Brilliant. Definitely keep us in the loop. We'll promote it as much as we can for you,
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
as we do for everyone else.
Yeah.
Where can we find you?
So on Instagram and Twitter we're at Lamb Official. That's 2 B's, and on YouTube to watch all the films we are Lamb. It's 2 B's as well.
So LAMBB
Yeah.
on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Check that out. The short films are amazing. They're really
Thank you.
powerful.
Thank you very much.
Well done. Thanks, guys, for checking us out and for giving us your ears for another episode number 30. It's been brilliant. It's been such a great conversation with you, Naomi.
Yeah.
Check us out. Yeah, check us out on Instagram. That's at For The Creators Podcast. On Twitter at @for_the creators. And also, Apple deleted our reviews and our ratings.
Yes.
So we need you guys to boost us up if you can. Give us 5 stars and a really good review. Let us know what you think. That would really, really help, especially as we had a bunch before and now they're gone. So please do that for us. It helps more people find the show, and it builds this community that we're creating. So
as usual, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been an amazing show. I hope that you got a lot from the topic that we discussed this week. If you would like to contribute to the topics, remember that every Saturday I publish the topic of the week, and you can get to contribute to that. We also run it on a Tuesday. We do a poll in our stories as well, where we give you a list of 5 topics to choose from, and then you can narrow it down to your favorites. So if you really want to be a part of the discussion, that's the best way to do so.
Absolutely.
So look out for it on our Instagram profile. We've been reading out all the feedback that we've received so far from our followers, and it's really important to the show because it's by us, but it's for you. So please remember to check out our Instagram profile. Once again, we'll be posting up the topics that we like to discuss on these spotlight shows, and then if you'd like us to, enter your contribution to discussion during the talk, we'd also do that as well. But thank you very, 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 very much for tuning in to an episode. Thank you very much for tuning in.
See what happens when you turn 30.
It's old age. Thank
Thanks,
you very
guys.
much for tuning in to another episode of